How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video we're going to be going over the second edition of our wildcard drafts for the 2019/2020 season. Obviously coming off the back of our Game Week 3 preparation wildcards. Just like that video, I had a lot of requests for a wildcard draft, as I do in this video. A lot of people have been reaching out to me and asking me to do an updated wildcard draft for the upcoming game week. The international break is happening right now, so a lot of people are kind of pondering whether to use their wildcard, and obviously game week 4 was quite an average game week, so off the back of an average game week, a lot of people generally have second thoughts about their wildcards, and they always generally use them after their team has slumped a little bit and isn't performing to their standard. So in this video we're going to be going over, as our usual wildcard drafts, 2 drafts to go over, except this time we're not going to be going over kind of an out there maverick pick and a standard pick. We've got 2 very general standard teams to go over that hopefully you guys can use for your wildcards. If you're using your wildcard, this is the perfect video for you. But if you're not using it, this is also the perfect video for you, as you're going to be looking at these players to bring in with your free transfers. Or if you're willing to take a hit and kind of go a little bit maverick on that one, then these are the players that are in form and should be on your watch list for the upcoming game weeks. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the wildcard. So you might be wondering, why are people wildcarding, and hopefully this slide can kind of bring some solution to that question. This is basically a breakdown of the international break wildcard. You've got 2 weeks to deliberate, which allows you to kind of ponder decisions a lot more and analyze players a lot more, so you can hopefully be making better decisions for your wildcard drafts. And the important thing to remember is that your wildcard is probably one of the most important chips in FPL, so you really want to nail it down to the T and therefore bring up your FPL points and average game week scores for the upcoming game weeks. So 2 weeks gives you a lot of time to think about your decisions and hopefully, as I said, make the right ones. So a general tip for your wildcard is always just watch for price rises and drops. Use whatever website or tool you want to look for price rises and bring those players in if you potentially want them in your squad. As I said in the previous draft video, you don't have to stick with these players, simply just bring them in, because at the end of the kind of pondering period before the deadline, you might see that you want that player in your squad, and if you haven't brought them in before their price rise, you simply priced out of bringing them in. So just keep an eye on the price rises and drops. As I said, you can always take a player out and bring them back in if they're going to drop in price. A couple of game weeks worth of statistics for you guys to go over for your wildcards. So we've had a couple of game weeks now, 4 game weeks in total. So I'm hoping that the stats have kind of hit a normalization period a little bit, and hopefully these stats will kind of be a little bit more consistent from our preseason stats that we had at the start of the season. So don't feel bad about wildcarding. Obviously preseason is not a lot of information to go over, so the decisions weren't that accurate from us. So if you have to use your wildcard, do it, but it is a situational chip. So if you have to use it, I would pay attention to the statistics and kind of pick out those players that are hitting the goals on target and also getting those clean sheet points if they are defenders. And you can make early moves without having to worry about injuries. So what's the perfect combination with an international break? Injuries. The thing is that these injuries are not always serious. Just recently we have seen Paul Pogba pull out of the French squad with a little bit of a sprained ankle. Whether it is a serious injury or not, I think it might be a little bit of a precaution, and Man United are simply keeping him back to kind of work on his fitness maybe a little bit or something like that. But there are a lot of players that pull out of international duty with these supposed injuries, but then are seen playing in the game week following the international break. So it's one to keep your eye on, and maybe even if they do pick up an injury on international break, as they are playing a lot more minutes, you could easily transfer that player in and out. Whereas now, if you don't have your wild card and you want to make a transfer quite early on due to price rises and drops, you're simply having to take the risk of that player maybe getting injured on their international duty if they are playing for their country. So these are just kind of tips to go over when making your wild card, and maybe a little bit of, as I said, information. And hopefully these points have not only maybe made you consider using a wildcard, but as I said, it is a situational chip. So if you need to use it, then I would go for it. But if you kind of can hold back for a couple more game weeks, then that is all up to you. But let's get into the drafts. So the first draft is more of a maverick pick, if I do say so myself. A main reason is we've gone for Mane over Salah, but I will get into that when we kind of cover each player. So with Pope in goal, I think Pope's the goalkeeper to go for now, as his fixtures for Burnley have finally switched off, and the bad fixtures are kind of out the door, and he's got some very nice green fixtures upcoming. So Pope would be my choice for my starting goalkeeper. I always like the 4.5 goalkeepers more than the more premium options, but you have seen value in the likes of Edison, especially with the likes of Laporte getting injured. So Edison looks like a set starter and kind of is a safe pick for that Man City defense. But I've gone for Pope as a little bit of a difference here. I think that Pope is quite highly owned along with Ryan, but I just think that Pope's fixtures are a lot better. So if you are wildcarding, you're going to be wanting to hop onto Pope. Button obviously comes in as a 4 mil keeper just for that budget enabler, which allows us to get that maximum budget in our outfield players. So coming into defense, we have Soyuncu, who I probably butchered his name completely, but I think you'll forgive me for that one. As you can see, a lot of apostrophes there on his name, but the Leicester centre-back has been playing very well recently, especially with the likes of Harry Maguire departing Leicester's defence. So he looks like he's come in the squad, set starter, playing really well and looks undroppable. Obviously that could happen in the upcoming game weeks, but it looks like he's got his spot in that starting lineup, and at 4.5 looks great value. I know the Leicester fixtures aren't that great for the first game week 4 and 5 after this international break, but after that they have some favourable fixtures, and the thing at 4.5, you can easily bench him, as you do have quite a lot of value players out in midfield and forwards. And then we have Lucas Dean, who comes in at 6 million, looks a better option than Coleman, is more expensive but is on free kicks and looks to be in a little bit of better form attacking wise, managed to pick up an assist in game week 4. I think that Everton's clean sheets, they will keep an average number of clean sheets this season, I think a lot more than probably the average club. So I'm looking at him for some defensive points, but attacking wise he looks great as well. So that's why he comes into my squad. 6 million, a little bit more of a premium defender, but I think he's been in since my game week 1 team, and I don't think I'm going to be dropping him now. Now, next defender is a Liverpool defender. I know Liverpool started off a little bit shakily in the starting game weeks, but have looked to pick up a little bit of defensive form, and they do have some nice fixtures coming up. But the thing with my chosen Alexander-Arnold as my Liverpool player is that attacking wise he's absolutely sensational. Obviously he comes in at 7 million, which is a lot more than other defenders, but he just offers a lot more attacking threat in my opinion. I've gone for Alexander-Arnold over Robertson. I was a little bit worried about Alexander-Arnold's minutes, but I think he's secured that spot now, and it looks like Joe Gomez has taken a spot on the bench. Might fill in at centre back every now and again, but it looks like Alexander-Arnold is undroppable as he's carrying that Liverpool team and fits right into the system that they play. He offers great crosses and great assisting threat, but he even comes in with an odd shot now and again, which makes him worth that 7 million. So I've opted for him over Robertson. I just think he looks like the better player, and as I said in preseason, if he's guaranteed minutes, Alexander-Arnold would 100% outscore Robertson. So I've gone for Alexander-Arnold as my most expensive defender, but I think he is justified. Then coming in with our Man City option is Zinchenko at 5.5. Great value in my opinion, and unfortunately due to the injury to Laporte, I personally think that he will keep his spot, as I think that they might play Kyle Walker, as John Stones is quite injury prone. So I think Cancelo will fit in at that right back position and Kyle Walker will shift to centre back. So Zinchenko should hopefully be keeping his spot at left back. Obviously there is the threat of Benjamin Mendy, which is one to kind of monitor this international break, but at 5.5 is great budget into that Man City defense and will be staying in my wildcard draft. Then we have Lundstrom, which is not more to say about him. 4.1 now, was 4 million, but is a defender playing out of position for Sheffield United. I know Sheffield United aren't the most attacking team, but he has picked up some great stats at the beginning of the season, and I think he will continue this form as long as he keeps his spot in midfield. But at 4.0, can't really ask for much more as a defender playing out of position that offers a little bit of attacking threat, but also can offer you those clean sheets even though he is playing out of position. So going into midfield, obviously as I said, the main difference here with my current draft is Mane and Salah. So I've opted for Mane in this draft, saved that 1 million. Mane looks like he's going to be keeping up his form of last season, scoring a lot of goals and hopefully assisting a lot of players. I know that in the last game he offered a lot of aggression after being substituted after Salah not passing to him. So I think that desire is something to be looking for, and he looks like he's raring to go and wants to score tons of goals. So Mane comes into my squad and also offers us to upgrade some of the other positions with that 1 more saving over Salah. Sterling and De Bruyne, nothing much to say about them. Two great Man City options. Man City looking great form, scoring tons of goals. I think you have to opt for two Man City players, especially because De Bruyne comes in at 9.6. If you want to go for Aguero, you can go for him. I've opted for Sterling in this draft. I've gone for Aguero in the next draft, so stay tuned for that. But as Sterling and De Bruyne should have great stats this upcoming season, so I think I'm opting for both of them as my kind of more premium options. Then we have Cantor and Ceballos. Cantor 4.8, nearly scored again on game week 4, so looks to have great stats and is playing very attacking wise, and at 4.5, risen to about 4.8, so you can see he's a very popular transfer in. So I'd be getting in my squad as soon as possible, as I think he'll probably rise in price again. Then Ceballos, Arsenal just have great fixtures coming up, and after coming on against Spurs, look to be in great kind of confidence, so I think he's going to be offering a lot of assisting and maybe even some attacking threats. He had quite a couple shots on target, even though he was subbed in late on, so he comes in at 5.7 and more of a budget option for me, but I think that he'll still offer a lot of attacking threat. Going into attack, I've opted for the triple whammy of Barnes, Abraham and Pukki. Opted for Abraham over Mount as he offers more attacking threat, and he looks to have nailed that centre forward spot at Chelsea. Barnes and Pukki have scored massive amount of goals from the start of the season, so they come into my side as the kind of two informed players, with, I know Pukki playing Man City, but Barnes' fixtures have turned and he should keep up that goal scoring threat. So going into the second draft, we have a little bit of variation. I'm going to only be going over players that have kind of made their introduction to our squads. The likes of Tyrone Mings, having been called up to England's international team, I think that he offers great bonus point threat. At 4.5, centre back for Aston Villa. I know Aston Villa probably aren't the most secure defence, but if they do keep a clean sheet, and even if they don't, Tyrone Mings is always up there on the bonus points, which is quite enticing. That's the one reason why I've put him in my squad, but you can obviously chop and change him for any 4.5 or even cheaper if you want to upgrade another position. In this draft, I opted for Salah over Mane. A bit of a safer pick. Salah is more highly owned than Mane, so maybe a little bit more of a safer pick, and I always feel a little bit more comfortable captaining Salah. He is leading on kind of the points total this season, but I do expect him and Mane to kind of switch in and out come each game week. So I think I've opted for Salah here. If you do have him in your squad, maybe this could offer you more transfers to kind of see if you want to use your free transfers and not your wild card, how to maybe change a couple players around to fit this draft. Then I've also opted for Mount over Abrahams. Comes in at about one more cheaper, and Mount is shooting a lot and looks like he's Frank Lampard's golden boy. So I think he's going to be playing most minutes, and he does seem to be on the end of a lot of shots and even some assists. He's creating a lot of chances for his teammates, and that's something that's quite impressive for a 6 mil midfielder, and I'd also get him in my squad as soon as possible, as he is rising in price quite a lot. I know his next two fixtures, Wolves and Liverpool, aren't that appetizing, but I think after that they have some nice fixtures to look at, and I think that it's worth keeping the faith with Mount. The other option up front, you can see I've swapped Sterling for Aguero. Aguero scoring 6 goals from 6 shots on target. Absolutely incredible form from the Argentine, and looks like he's back into his goal scoring form as previous seasons. There is the worry of Jesus kind of coming back. I know Jesus was injured this past game week, so one to keep your eye on, but I think with Aguero, he's always going to be that first centre forward for Man City. He might be substituted on the 60-minute mark, but the thing is, Aguero's probably scored 1 or 2 by that time, so not too much to worry about. I personally prefer Sterling, but a lot of people have been asking me whether they should be bringing Aguero in, and I think if you're going to be wildcarding, it's almost worth taking the punt on it, as those who have already wildcarded and those who haven't are going to kind of struggle to get Aguero in their squads. So I hope you've enjoyed these 2 drafts. Put your drafts down below, or any questions you have if you are using your wildcard, or even if you're not using your wildcard. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you're new and are enjoying the content. I'll check you guys next week with the team preview as well as the Game Week 5 preview, where we'll be covering all the talking points and what transfers I'm going to be making. Follow me on Twitter at Dayvy Fpl if you want to reach out to me, or drop a comment down below as I said earlier. But otherwise, I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy Fpl, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.